Oh man, Mike LaFleur kicked the hornet's nest. Of course, hindsight is 2020. Fans a little upset with the comment he made, and is there some insane way the Jets could actually be in the playoffs?
Jets, 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 Jets!
When you evaluate quarterbacks, Mike, and there are some guys that I think it's kind of the thing that everyone's talking about now is Geno's gone on and played well after some years sitting and watching, and Sam has gone on and played well after some years sitting and watching. Could Zach just be one of those players?
Yeah, it's a good question, Connor, and it kind of is what it is in 2023 now. I guess you could say, like, people don't want to wait. They want the instant gratification of these rookies, these second-year guys to be superstars, and understandably so. You get why this is a highly competitive environment. I'll use the example of what's going on in Green Bay right now. Obviously, it was Brett Favre. Aaron sat for 5 years, and Jordan Love's kind of going through it right now. And I'm not there at practice. I can just go off of the words what I hear, but just how much improvement he's had through 3 years, of sitting there watching Aaron going through the scout team and all that, and that was his path. That is his path, and we'll see what holds, for Jordan. Similar to Zach, in hindsight, it probably would have benefited, just to sit back and learn a little bit and watch a veteran and do it and just kind of grow, in this league, kind of in the back seat watching and getting better in practice and getting better in through scout team and all that. But again, that wasn't the course that we went. And from here, we got to pick it up. We got to pick up the scraps, and we got to get back to work.
Welcome to Jets Talk. My name is Ryan. I'll be your pilot. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. If you've been here before, welcome back. I love having you here. Boys and girls, you just heard Mike LaFleur answer some comments about Zach Wilson, and if maybe he should have sat. We saw a little bit of development from Geno Smith, Sam Darnold, once they wind up leaving the New York Jets after having some time in the league, getting a few offensive systems under their belt. Should Zach Wilson have sat in hindsight? Now, the clickbait article kind of headline was, in hindsight, Zach should have sat and learned. That's, if you watch the entirety of this clip, it's not entirely what was said. I mean, obviously they had a ton of faith in Zach Wilson going into his first year. They had Greg Knapp, all this, they're ready to go. They're clicking and firing on all cylinders. They saw the throws at BYU that made them feel like he was ready. They saw enough in preseason to think he was ready. And then after 2 years, you get this, hey, in hindsight, maybe he should have sat for a year or so. And I think a lot of fans get frustrated at this because a lot of people seeing Zach coming from BYU, not having a ton of competition in that conference, and then also having the bad game against Coastal Carolina, I think would probably have sat here and said, yeah, you think he probably needed a little bit more time than some of these other guys that were coming out of this draft. And I don't fault LaFleur for saying this. I think that's fine to say. I think if you believe in your evaluation that Zach Wilson is ready to kind of hit the ground running, the way it sort of looked like even through preseason year one, it felt like he kind of, like the game wasn't too big for him. It felt like it made sense to play him. And I know we didn't have another quarterback on the roster to really threaten him in any kind of meaningful competition way. And I think that's what they're going back and saying is I think we got to see how Mike White kind of earned the respect of the locker room. And I think by letting Zach sit and learn, I don't think the skill set is necessarily the issue. I think it's more of the maturity and maybe the earning your lumps of being in the NFL and kind of having to earning your stripes as opposed to being handed the starting job from day one. So I don't know. I think more fans are upset about this than I think necessarily needs to be. And as far as do I think Zach Wilson should have sat, it's such a crapshoot when you sit a quarterback or not. There's some great, Aaron Rodgers sat, learned. Jordan Love, as mentioned in this clip, sitting, possibly learning. We'll see what winds up happening with him as well. You get the Alex Smiths that take a long time, and then they all of a sudden they come on, and they have a good career. So should Zach have sat? Maybe. I mean, we've had other people sit and learn, and nothing came of it. I mean, it seems like it's pretty 50-50 down the middle as far as do quarterbacks succeed more when they sit versus if they start right away, because you're not getting the reps you used to get. Beforehand, you could sit and you'd still get a lot of reps in practice. Since the new CBA, at least the last two CBAs, they've cut down practice time so much that really isn't so much the case anymore. I don't know. I'm not banged up about this. I put more fault on Saleh I think, in developing Zach, more so because of the hiring. And the Jets got caught in a really weird sort of situation. Year one, I don't argue what they tried to do. You have Rob Calabrese comes in, first-time quarterback coach, at the NFL level. Mike LaFleur, first-time offensive coordinator at the NFL level, calling plays. And then you have Greg Knapp, who's been a long-time NFL assistant to groom Zach Wilson. He tragically passes away in August of last year. This year, this time around, last year they brought in John Beck halfway through the year. That did seem to help Zach. Now it seemed like they kind of just relied on Rob Calabrese and LaFleur to just kind of grow Zach. And I think that's probably where things went awry this year. I think you should have brought in someone who is far more experienced in that capacity. And I think maybe that's, that in conjunction with like of actual veteran quarterback that knows the system. Like Flacco was with Calabrese in Denver, but like, is he necessarily the best quarterback for this offense? I don't know. I'm not sure. And then, well, whatever. So that story aside, the other story, kind of weird. This one coming from NBC because of the whole situation that happened on Monday Night Football with Damar Hamlin and everything. The league is trying to figure out how to work the playoffs and figure out how this Bills-Bengals game impacts the whole situation with the playoffs. And is there the possibility that they're just going to not play the game? It seems like it's just going to be a no contest. They're not making up the game. So what happens? The teams are playing an unfair amount of games. So how does seeding work out? Because the Bills, currently the 1 seed, the Bengals were fighting. I think they were the 3 seed at the time. So that game was like really, really important from like a gameplay side of things. So what do they wind up doing? Well, NBC, comes out. Pro Football Talk has a comment that comes out, says, here's a look at where things currently stand as scheduling. No Bills-Bengals game. NFL figuring out what to do AFC seeding-wise. One option is a neutral site for the AFC Championship game. So if the Bengals, the Chiefs, or the Bills play in that final championship game, it would be played at a neutral site, so not one team has the home field advantage. Possible playoff expansion to a field of 8 teams in the AFC. Now, could you imagine the Jets being mathematically eliminated last week with a loss by some incredibly insane circumstances and not something I would ever want to see happen? Hopefully everything's going well on the Hamlin front, but insane sort of situation, a once in a ever situation where they could possibly add an 8th seed. That's bonkers. I guess the way that would work would be no team would have a bye, I think. It basically eliminates the bye week for seed 1 and seed 2, and you just kind of play it that way. Little weird. I don't like this. I think this just gets more fan bases involved, which is good, and it's more of a talking point than anything else. I would not want to make the playoffs by getting the 8th seed this year after the way we finished. Like that, for me, there's a pride aspect of this, and I know anything can happen once you get into the playoffs, but I'm looking at this and I'm saying we don't deserve to be in. Like flat out, there's no way. If there's an 8th seed, I don't want to be in. I'd rather there be 7 seeds and me have the opportunity to play the spoiler role. I believe if the Jets beat the Dolphins and the Bills, I don't know. I want to play spoiler as best we can. I want to make sure the Dolphins don't get in. If there's any way for the Jets to make sure the Patriots don't get in, I would love to have that. But if there was a situation where there was an 8th seed, here's what we would need to have happen. We need the Browns to beat the Steelers. We need the Jags to beat the Titans, and then the Jets would have to beat the Dolphins. That would be a truly ridiculous way to get into the playoffs. I think, I don't know. I don't think that's the way they're going to go. I think they're going to go win percentage as far as like seeding and everything for the AFC playoffs. I don't think it's really going to impact. I said, why don't they play week 18, see if the Bengal game would have even mattered, and then figure it out from there. I think that's realistically the best case scenario for this. And then as far as the Jets and what we're going to be doing for this upcoming game against the Dolphins, Mike White went from a full participant at practice on Wednesday to a limited participant on practice on Thursday. And if I really don't think we're seeing Zach again this year, and if Mike White just popped up on the injury list, I'm thinking we're heading towards either a Flacco or Strevler final game here. This is not something I'm particularly looking forward to. I think if you play Flacco, you're probably not getting many people watching this game. And then I think you're probably okay from like a tanking perspective. Like no one's going to really expect the Jets playing Flacco to necessarily care if we win or lose. If you start, Mike White or Zach Wilson and they lose to possibly a third string quarterback in Thompson in Miami, then you got like the pitchforks coming and everything. And I think there's a lot that could go wrong. Kind of maybe throw a little bit of water on this fire and put it out heading to the off season. As far as like wrapping everything up, all things, considered, don't want to make the playoffs this way. I'm cool with the draft pick at this point. I think being able to select a top tackle when there's like 3 at the top of the draft next year is pretty important, and to pick at 17 versus pick like 11 or 12. I don't know, but I do want to win. I think winning is so important for this team. Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure the right answer. I just want to get out of this game healthy. I want to start looking forward to the future. And I don't know. We'll go from there. Guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. What do you think about LaFleur? Do you think he should get fired? Do you think he should really be on the hot seat? Or do you think it should be maybe the fault of not bringing in a quarterback coach? Do we bring in a new quarterback coach? What happens there? What happens with this whole playoff situation and seeding scenario? Let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, go Jets.
Jets!